Chapter 39, Coffee. With thoughts of Topaz on his mind, Azer shifted the conversation, inquiring, "Will it take long before we arrive?" The professor affirmed, "Indeed, it will be a considerable amount of time before we reach our destination." He then suggested, "Why don't you prepare a cup of hot coffee? There's bottled water somewhere below that hatch on the floor." Azer lifted the hatch, peeking inside, but quickly retracted his head due to the overpowering smell of gas. Overwhelmed, he expressed, "I think there might be a gas leak. The boat could potentially explode at any moment." The professor responded calmly, "No need to worry. It's unlikely. We've had worse situations before. Just the other day, I accidentally spilled some gasoline down there." On a second attempt, Azer cautiously bent down, holding his breath, and retrieved a bottle of water before closing the hatch. The professor shared, the boat's previous owner had thoughtfully set up a proper storage compartment on board, allowing them to venture out for weeks of fishing at sea. He further suggested, "You might find one of those heating devices in the storage bench if you can locate it." Azer lifted the lid of the bench, struggling to see in the dim lighting. The professor then switched on a faint cabin light, remarking, "Let's see if this helps." Eventually, Azer managed to locate the electric immersion heater, along with a couple of steel mugs and a can of instant coffee. He filled one of the mugs with water, placed the heater inside, and cautiously plugged it in. He was apprehensive about igniting any gasoline fumes and causing an explosion, but luckily, that didn't happen. Instead, he received an electric shock. To avoid shock on the next attempt, he considered placing the mug on the seat. But as wildly as the boat rocked, he had to hold on to the mug. Eventually, he found a practical workaround. He put his hand in his jacket pocket and, sitting on the storage box, held the mug with the corner of the jacket. The heat from the mug was pleasant and it took a while for the water to boil. Turning to the professor, Azer inquired, "Is Berlin a pleasant place to live?" The professor replied, "Berlin is quite a divided city, with its positives and negatives spread far apart. Succeeding here demands considerable effort, otherwise, failure becomes inevitable." He elaborated, "Surviving in Berlin, as a journalist, isn't a simple task, as it is in a small town where you could run a local newspaper indefinitely without significant progress. But in Berlin, you need to evolve into a creative, world-renowned author. Otherwise, you might find yourself reduced to a mere microphone holder for politicians with an intelligence level below the average." Azer said, "Yes, working your way up to a creative writer is every journalist's dream." He added, "Do you know what the difference is between a journalist and a writer when they both produce text?" The professor thought about it for a bit and shook his head. Azer continued, "A writer swallows everything around him, breaks it down, and delivers an innovation. A journalist turns undigested facts into news." The professor looked at him, fixed his eyes on the waves again, and said with a smile, "Yes, and the journalists who produce fake news just deliver undigested material, without facts." The water in the mug began to boil. Azer removed the coil and handed the mug to the professor. Steering the boat with one hand, the professor accepted the mug. Azer, still holding the heated coil, managed to open the canister and pour some instant coffee into the professor's mug. He poured some water into the next mug and placed the coil in it.